Hey everyone, Captain Amazing here, and today I want to talk about frustrations with Grand Arena. So let's jump into it. So I've been noticing a trend in the community with other content creators within my Discord and Reddit is a rising frustration with Grand Arena. Even I made a recent video and it was just a video that said, hey, if you lose, then try to find a silver lining, try to find a lesson in what was the reason that you lost so that you can improve, and then you have a overall positive experience. Even though it's a loss, at least you gain something out of it. And that's my outlook. Believe it or not, even when I got demolished, I try to look at like, okay, what can I do? Was it strategy? Was there something I could have changed? Was there just something I need that's more in my account so that I can get through my opponent's defenses because they're stonewalling me with certain things? And that has led me to stay in Kyber, because pretty much when I got into Kyber, I struggled. I had two GLs, two GL ships, and I was having troubles with certain counters because I just didn't have enough of enough height in my account that I was able to kill certain things like JMKs, Leias, Jabas. I struggled with all these things. So I made a farming pathway that was efficient, but also helped me overall with a winning strategy in Grand Arena. And that's how I tailored what I needed with my account. Also with like focusing on account resources. So players, but responses I got from that video were not overall like pretty surprising for me. There was people that were saying like, hey, you're just wrong with your viewpoint, and just kind of said that where I am, it's an effort based, or it's just something that is like within my control. And I want people to realize that, hey, this is, we're all kind of having issues with Grand Arena. Pretty much with the squish, we're all getting pushed down. Like players are getting pushed out of Kyber, Kyber 1, which means Kyber 2 is filled with Kyber 1 players, and Kyber 2 players are filled in Kyber 3 and 4, etc., all the way down to the lowest level, because we're all getting pushed down. And that means we're having unfair matchups at all levels. So those those new to mid game players, they're facing late game players. Those late game players are facing end game players. Those end game players are facing whales, and those whales are now facing krakens. So it's kind of like a food chain where everyone is hurting. And if you watch other content creators in Grand Arenas, you'll see that we're all having to punch up. We're all struggling against players that we normally don't play against, that is above our bracket, because our bracket is no longer what it used to be. Because in Grand Arena, it used to be, if you looked at these leagues, then people had a certain idea of like, okay, you need like a GL and you can make it into bronzium, or a GL ship, and then if you have like 2, you can make it into chromium, or you have 3 of major farms, you can make it into rhodium. And I don't think it's kind of that level anymore, because kind of the same way as inflation, like players, as they farm things, like other players are also farming things. So if you want to push up into these ranks, not only do you have to continue to build your account, but you have to build your account in a faster, more efficient way than the average player base is playing, which is pretty easy to bust out of like bronzium and chromium, because a lot of those players could be like newish players, they don't know what they're doing, more casual players, or players that just don't engage in Grand Arena. But once you start pushing into the rhodium and kyber levels, that's when you're starting to face players that just like have a lot of things. And if you want to survive in there, you have to either farm like really high level S tier things, focus on ships, or whatever your strategy is. You have to be able to combat and compete there. But also everyone else is building their account, and so you have to grow faster than other players. And that's why I was saying with my overall farming strategy is to get more into your account, and then overall if you get more into your account, then you're going to be able to do better in Grand Arena. But unfortunately now we're all getting pushed down, and it's hurting everyone, and that's, I think, a big root cause. It's not the first time we've been squished, but we've been getting squished for a while now, and I think everyone is feeling it. Also, I do think there's another reason why this is exceptionally painful, and it's datacrons, and it's specifically this unexpected resurgence datacron. Because if you look at like this set right here, so if you look at Rambunctious Rage, it's more in line with with what the older datacron sets were. There was a few datacrons here that are exceptionally well that you wanted, like Palcron was good, Plocron was good, Master Qui-Gon's Cron was but it has a good stun one. Ethkoth, Gideon's Cron was good, but there's only a handful of those, and they make like old teams strong but not unbeatable. The problem with Unexpected Resurgence was there was so many crons that just applied to every single team, because it was the level 6s that was really making a huge difference. It's not even the level 9s that I really cared about. Honestly, I didn't care about any of these level 9s at all. I just cared about the level 6s and getting enough good level 6s, the good level 6 support, the good level 6 tank, the good level 6 attacker. Like, they were all really strong. And the problem was, it was so hard to farm them because there was so much variance, and that really highlighted the difference between those who spent money on datacrons and those don't, those who engage datacrons and those who don't. It really did create a chasm of different levels of strength in this game, because if you faced a player, and I have before in Kyber 2, that just had a good level 6 support, attacker, or tank cron on every single team, and it was really difficult to get through them, because I only had one good level 6 support, two good level 6 attackers, and two good level tank ones, which is maybe more than the average player, but it was a struggle. And a lot of players, especially on the higher end, when they have not only that, but they have specialized secondary stats that's all like defense or all health or protection or whatever it is, and they reroll all those, that's when you start getting into those teams where normal counters just don't work anymore. And that made it frustrated for everyone. So the whales were mad, the end game, the late game, the mid game, the new game, were all getting absolutely dunked on by players who just like engage in datacrons or have more. So it's I think this level of frustration that we've all been having is a combination of the two. The squish pushing down all those players so that we're playing players that we normally don't engage with, but also the unexpected resurgence datacrons were just so broken and busted that it made Grand Arena so unbearable. Also, like with Rambunctious Rage, there was the Great Mother's datacron, and if you looked at this Great Mother's datacron, it was very strong, and it just added another level of difficulty in Grand Arena, because this is the most ultimate pay to win datacron that we've seen yet. So there's a lot of different factors here of pay to win mechanics that are making the game a little more frustrated. So this level, this Great Mother's datacron was just like the exclamation mark, plus with those other level set 16 datacrons, and then the few datacrons piled on that in the set 17 that made it just overall a perfect storm of just a unfun experience. So don't get me wrong when I said that, like, try to find the silver lining of Grand Arena. I'm not trying to downplay your feelings and say that it's you shouldn't be upset with Grand Arena. What I'm trying to say is, it's a game. The game is designed so that you lose half your matches. That's just how the game is designed. And if you're getting upset 50% of the time that you're playing a game, then that's not a very great game overall. And that's why I live to learn with it, and it doesn't bother me anymore if I lose Grand Arenas, because I try to take the lesson and then I move on. And honestly, I would say that I've been playing in Kyber for a while now, and now I'm closer to, I am 10 million GP, and my account is kind of really blossoming. But before I was at like 7 million GP and 8 million GP, and I was facing the same type of accounts that had all, if not most of the GLs and ships, and I was still kind of holding on in there, winning about 50%. So honestly, this is par for the course, and my opponents may be more ridiculous now with like datacrons and just their ability, but it's all kind of the same for me, and that's probably why you haven't seen me being that frustrated with Grand Arena, is because this is normal for me. Like for my account, I think I'm at a level where I'm punching up, and I'm used to mismatch Grand Arenas. Honestly, I've had like one or two Grand Arenas where I was even with my opponent or even close, and the rest I've been drastically underdeveloped of an account compared to my opponents. And even when my GP is the same, there's only some things I can accelerate in this account. Like, yeah, I have resources and I try to get them as fast as possible, but I've only been playing for 3 years. This account is a 3-year-old account. There's only so much you can do with a 3 years. There's things like Zetas, mods that I just can't. Why I may have like a better top end mods, but I don't have as many 6-dot mods. It takes time to get those into my account. So overall, I get it. Like, you guys are frustrated. Let me know in the comments how you guys feel about Grand Arena. If you feel like you're at a point where it's too frustrating and something needs to change, or are you doing okay? I have seen some people where they realized that GP isn't everything, and they were able to punch up and beat some of these accounts that were mismatches. And I'll say this, it's resource driven. This is a resource game, and just because you have less GP, less GLs, less GL ships doesn't mean you can't win, because there's datacrons, there's mods, there's just the ability to play the game and click the right buttons, and some of your opponents are just not going to have the capability to perform as well as they should. So if you looked at my opponent, if you looked at all things, I beat them. I beat them pretty my last match pretty handedly. But if you look at their account, they grossly outmatch me in GP and GLs and legendary characters. They even have more ship GP than me because I don't have things like the Marauder. So they have a better account than mine, but I was still able to win through just effective utilization of my teams on defense and on offense. So all I'm saying is, you can learn from your lessons. You can build your account so that you can face and punch up against these strong opponents. And yes, sometimes you're just going to have mismatches that are just impossible to win if your opponent plays. If you're 1 million GP and your opponent is 7 million GP, I'm sorry, you're going to lose. Even if you start the game and you're 300 GP and your opponent bought the hyperdrive bundle, I'm sorry that you're going to lose. That's just the way the game is. But if you play it for long enough, you develop your account smartly, you can also start competing against those in endgame if you're a strong account. So overall, thanks for listening. Let me know in the comments what you think, and I hope to see you guys next time. Take care.